everyone. Douglas Ducote here. My new book, From Baton Rouge to Baghdad and Back, is available now at Walmart, Amazon, Google, iTunes. Please check it out. I had the opportunity to either write about my 4 combat tours and the horrors of war like everyone else does, or I chose to write about the humorous side of military service. So there are stories about things that I experienced in Operation Desert Storm and Operation Just Cause down in Panama and everything in between. The funny things that I went through and I lived through. The things that require basically a sixth sense of humor to get by. So this is a great gift for anyone that you know that's served in the United States military, as well as those that just like to read things that are funny. My whole purpose was to make you laugh. And if this book, From Baton Rouge to Baghdad and Back, makes you laugh, then it was worth my time and effort in writing it. So please check it out. You can buy the book starting today at Walmart, Amazon, Google, iTunes, and Barnes & Noble. Thank you and God bless.
Into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs, 50% of them are fraudulent, which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose. And I think he's both, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back. And we're going to, this next year, make sure that we only put people in leadership positions in this country that love this country.
Now, everybody we just played there seems to be more outraged by the TPS being revoked from these so-called refugees than the cash they're allegedly sending over to the terror groups.
Yeah, that's right. And we know for sure there have been actual convictions at this point, and we're talking about billions of dollars that have been stolen from American taxpayers. And Ilhan Omar and the rest of them seem more outraged at those of us who reported on it, those of us who noticed it, and those of us who blew the whistle. But this scandal is not going away. I'm told by sources in Minnesota that there are dozens of these fraud schemes. There are investigations that are underway now. This might just be the tip of the iceberg. And this is probably the highest density of fraud anywhere in the United States. President Trump took the right action. I think a lot more needs to be done. He needs to review all of the refugee and citizenship applications for the Minnesota Somalis. And if there is any additional fraud, he needs to take action.
As governor, Walz let a gang of politically connected Somali fraudsters steal $250 million of your money. It was the single biggest COVID scam in American history. During the pandemic, a nonprofit in Minnesota, Feeding Our Future, got $250 million to send food to needy kids. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. Almost none of it was used for food. The Somali scammers blew our cash on real estate, cars, extravagant get trips. We have wire transfers that show thousands going to car dealerships. $160,000 went to some company in China. And $500,000 was sent to Kenya to buy an apartment. Our tax dollars weren't just used on goodies. The politicians got a taste too. Ilhan Omar got thousands of dollars in donations from some of the scammers. Well, early on, Walz's administration thought it looked a little suspicious, so they froze the funds. Then the Somalis sued and called Walz racist, so he kept letting them steal. They didn't bother to crack into the bank accounts or issue subpoenas. Walz just put his hands in the air and said, I'm not racist. Take whatever you want. Walz even gave one of the fraudsters the Minnesota Outstanding Refugee Award. 3 years later, she was indicted.
According to a new bombshell report from the New York Times, Somalian migrants in Minnesota have defrauded nearly $1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
It wasn't the actions of a few. Yes, Chrissy Nome, he is an idiot. He did it on purpose. And I've been sitting here screaming at the top of my lungs about the corrupt Democrat establishment and pointing directly at Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, the two anti-American, anti-Israel Muslims in Congress. And now, one of the biggest scandals in American history is unfolding right before our eyes. We'll dive into that and many other things shortly. But first, you had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. I hope you all had a wonderful, happy, and blessed Thanksgiving. Wherever you're at, whatever you did, hope you ate plenty of turkey. And we did have over the Thanksgiving several days, from Wednesday through Sunday, a lot of tragedy take place across our nation. Between several aircraft crashes, weather systems that caused a lot of pain and suffering, people being murdered and killed. We had a Thanksgiving in America really unlike anything that I've ever experienced in my life. I've sat back and I've watched what has been happening over the past, well, not just week, but months and years. And I'm almost at a loss for trying to explain it to you to where it makes sense. I do my best. I come on here and I share my own personal knowledge after I share the news with you. about my take, my views, based on my education, my military service, my law enforcement experience, and real world, been there, done that. And try and break it down for you and separate fact from fiction. And it's a difficult job to do. Anybody that does this, whether they're at CNN or Fox News or YouTube, doesn't matter. When you're trying to find what's real and what isn't, it's difficult. Some, mainly on the left, although some on the right, they don't want to bring you factual information. They want to bring whatever it takes to spin the narrative in the direction of their political party. And that is not journalism. That is an insult to journalism, the profession. It's an insult to you, the American people, especially on places like CNN or MSNBC, ABC, CBS, or the thousands on the social media platforms, especially the YouTube platform, where there are many people on the left that are spewing lies. And people tune in and they believe them because, oh, they have 1 million plus followers. That doesn't make you credible. That just helps build your audience even greater. And sadly, your audience doesn't have what it takes to do their own homework and figure it out on their own and see the lies that you're telling. And it's not just the left. Oh no, there are people on the right, the far right, that spew nonsense on social media as well. Here at the Douglas Ducote Show, we try our damnness to sort through all of that, like we're going to do tonight and like I do on all my shows, to try and help you get a grasp on what's really happening. Now, on Thursday or on Wednesday, a lot of breaking news happened. A lot of things took place here in America that people were wondering where I was at. I was getting text messages. I was getting emails. People were contacting me on social media. Doug, why are you not out there reporting on this? Oh my God, look what's happening. I'll be straight up honest with you. I had been drinking and trying to smoke a turkey that started Wednesday morning at about 10 a.m. and didn't end until Thanksgiving morning as the sun was coming up. I had a little problem with a smoker that wasn't working properly and ended up having to go out in the middle of this process and get another one and start all over again with a different turkey. It was comical. All right. I could do a video on just the Thanksgiving turkey fiasco that happened at the Ducote house. And we're not going to dive too deep into that. But that is why I did not come on and start talking about some of these crazy things that took place on Wednesday evening and on Thanksgiving as well, and over the weekend. We're trying to spend time with family and friends for Thanksgiving. And like I say, when most of the crazy things were taking place Wednesday evening, you didn't want to hear me talk. Well, you probably did if you tune into this show on a regular basis. My friends that stopped by in the middle of it, they love to hear what I had to say about the turkey thing that was going on. But I've learned that when you're drinking, the best thing you can do is not put a camera in your face and start talking to the public. So I chose to just let it go by. And we would all talk about it when I came back on the air. So Let's first talk about this crap in Minnesota that is being ignored by most of the news media. Minnesota Democrat governor and failed vice president candidate Tim Walz, as you saw in the beginning of tonight's show, is at the center of a widening scandal as federal prosecutors continue to unravel one of the nation's largest COVID-era fraud cases. But anyone who relies on the evening newscasts of ABC, NBC, and CBS for information would have no clue that this is actually going on. The Justice Department announced new charges last week against the 78th defendant in the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, which prosecutors say involved more than $300 million in stolen funds from a federally funded child nutrition program and has already resulted in over 50 convictions. Many of the individuals charged come from Minnesota's Somalian community, led by Representative Congresswoman Alihan Omar. A group of Minnesota state employees said they wrote to former Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democrat National Committee, DNC, multiple times, warning them during the last campaign about Walz and what they described as his incompetence, fraud scandals, or retaliation. Walz was Harris' running mate on the failed Democrat 2024 ticket. In a Truth Social post on Thanksgiving, Trump tore into Walz, who the president called seriously retarded. Now, I wish he had used a different word. As someone with a special needs child, the word retarded is not something that should be in anyone's vocabulary in today's society. It is not okay. That's like using the N-word. There are just certain things that you shouldn't say. And Donald Trump knows better. But for another time, all right? Point is, I'm not happy with what he said, but I am happy with the fact that he's going to crack down on this and he's going to get to the bottom of it with his Department of Justice and his FBI. And he accused the governor of doing nothing either through fear or incompetence. The New York Times published a blistering report on Saturday, headline, How Fraud Swamped Minnesota's Social Services System on Tim Walz's Watch. Writing, Walz and fellow Democrats are being asked to explain how much money was stolen on their watch. However, ABC's World News Tonight, NBC's Nightly News, and CBS Evening News have not even mentioned Walz by name in the past week. According to a search of transcripts using Grabbit Media, the terms Somalia and Somalian are also not used on any of the three networks. ABC News, NBC News, and CBS News did not respond when asked the question on this by not just Fox News, but even CNN. While their evening newscasts skipped the story completely. Newsbusters referred to this as an omission and accused the network of suppressing the scandal. Another day, another massive story of Democrat blue state political malfeasance hidden by the elitist media nightly news. Newsbuster analyst George Bilelli said in a report for the conservative media watchdog. This time, there is not a peep about the exploding welfare scandal currently engulfing the state of Minnesota, which directly implicates some of the senior, most elected leaders in the state. The governor himself, Tim Walz, and Alihan Omar. This is without a doubt a scandal of massive proportions that continues to unfold. And yet, a search for the legacy nightly news over the past week yields absolutely nothing. Had such allegations of corruption unfolded, say, in Florida, you'd never hear the end of it. But, as is often the case with these things, they appear to be different. The double standard wins again. Walsh did face questions about the scandal Sunday, finally, on NBC's Meet the Press, when host Christian Walker pressed him on whether he takes responsibility for failing to stop fraud in his case. And you saw that in tonight's opening. Well, certainly, I take responsibility for putting people in jail, the governor responded. I will note it's not just Somalians. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated. But that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail, Waltz continued. We're doing everything we can, but to demonize an entire community over the actions of a few, it's lazy. Waltz also addressed the fraud at a press conference last week, saying it undermines trust in government and undermines programs that are absolutely critical in improving quality of life. If you're committing fraud, no matter where you come from, what you look like, what you believe, you're going to jail, Waltz said. Really? Is that what you think, sir? Or is that just what you want to spew out of your pie hole? Because I do believe the Department of Justice is looking very deep into your administration. And Ilhan Omar, you just as soon self-deport yourself now, because we're going to strip you of your American citizenship and we're going to send you back to that shithole country of Somalia where you came from, you anti-American, horrible, hateful human being. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say human being? I meant to say subhuman. Speaking of horrible, hateful, and subhuman people, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, and Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat, have indicated that if President Donald Trump pursues military action against Venezuela, they will seek to prohibit U.S. attacks against the foreign nation. During a Senate floor speech that took place yesterday, Schumer said he and Senator Tim Kaine and Senator Rand Paul will immediately file a war powers resolution to force congressional action to block the use of troops in Venezuela should Trump move to carry out strikes against the South American country. Americans do not want a pointless war in Venezuela, he declared. During a Monday appearance on CNN's The Lead with Jake Tapper, Schumer said, first, the bill is bipartisan. It's Rand Paul, Tim Kaine, and myself. Well, that's 2 Democrats and only 1 Republican. I think now Senator Adam Schiff is going to join us. Oh, that's another Democrat. Kaine indicated during an appearance on Sunday on CBS News Face the Nation that if the U.S. conducts military action against Venezuela, he will immediately move with Schumer, Paul, and Schiff. When asked about the U.S. potential attacking Venezuela directly, the White House instead appeared to reference the War Department's ongoing campaign striking suspected narco terror boats in the Caribbean. Drug cartels, not Venezuela itself, not the Venezuela military per se, the drug cartels that are sending in millions and millions of tons of illegal drugs to America to kill American citizens. Once again, the Democrats side with illegals over Americans. On the campaign trail, President Trump promised to take on the cartels. That's what we voted for. And he has taken unprecedented action to stop the score of narco-terrorism that has resulted in needless deaths of innocent Americans. He has labeled them, our Department of War, through our Department of Justice, through all legal forms, have labeled them a terrorist organization. And Schumer and his Democrats want to protect a terrorist organization by trying to make you believe that we're going to attack Venezuela. That's how stupid this is. All of these divisive strikes have been against designated cartel terrorists bringing deadly poisons to our shore. The president will continue to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country, White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said in a statement. Earlier this year, Kane, Paul, and Adam Schiff pushed a joint resolution to prohibit the president from unilaterally attacking Venezuela, which he's not doing. But the effort was stopped short of going into anything because the Republican senators just shot him down. Pursuant to Section 1013 of the Department of State Authorization Act, fiscal years 1984 and 1985, 50 U.S.C. 154(6)A, and in accordance with the provisions of Section 601B of the International Securities Assistance and Arms Export Control Act of 1976, boy, that was a mouthful, Congress hereby directs the president to terminate the use of the United States Armed Forces for hostilities against Venezuela, unless authorized by a declaration of war for military force by the Congress. Nothing in this section will be constructed to prevent the United States from defending itself from an armed attack or threat of an immediate armed attack. Well, that's exactly what's happening, you fucking morons. You could not make this shit up if you tried. The absolute babbling stupidity of Chuck Schumer, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Adam Schiff, Cory Booker, Hankam Jeffries, they are just absolutely batshit crazy. It's scary crazy, the kind of crap that they spew. And sadly, they've got a base that believes them. They believe what's coming out of their pie hole. It's all lies. We're not attacking Venezuela. We're attacking terrorists. And you're trying to stop us from doing that. The terrorists that are coming to America to kill Americans. That's what the Democrat Party has become. Putting everybody else over American citizens. In a true post on Saturday, Trump said Venezuela airspace should be considered closed. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety, Trump said in the Post. Now, that got them all upset. Boy, were their panties in a wad on that one. Because that meant that Donald Trump is about to start striking Venezuela. Not just the terrorists in boats bringing in drugs and fentanyl to kill Americans. Oh no, he's going to go after Venezuelans. No, you dumbasses. He's going to go after the drug labs. He's going to go after the cartels that are terrorists. That's what's about to happen. Now, let's just listen to old Chucky Boy spew his bullshit right here.
Very clear. If Donald Trump proceeds with his plan to conduct strikes against Venezuela, Senators Kane, Paul, and I will immediately file a war powers resolution to force congressional action to block the use of troops in Venezuela. The power to declare war lies in the hands of Congress, and we intend to exert that authority should the need arise. Now, I urge my Republican colleagues to work with us to advance this resolution if it becomes necessary, because the thought of another forever war makes Americans sick to their stomachs. Americans are tired of seeing troops bogged down in one country after the other. Americans do not want a pointless war in Venezuela. And Donald Trump does not have the authority to send our troops into harm's way without authorization from Congress. Should Donald Trump proceed, the Senate will immediately respond. Should a strike occur, we will force a debate in Congress and force a vote to prevent the U.S. troops.
Did you hear that, dumbass? Let's talk about something for a moment here. The last time Congress declared war and a president led a war was World War II. Everything since then, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Operation Just Cause in Panama, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and everything in between was never declared a war. So there was no need for Congress to act. The president has the ability to do that on his own, to defend America, our allies, and NATO forces. Democrat presidents have done it. Republican presidents have done it. Chuck Schumer's Democrats didn't say shit when, Barack Hussein Obama was sending drones to attack and kill dual citizenship Americans in the Middle East. Not a single word from them. We are at war per se, not a war needed to be declared by Congress, for crying out loud, against an enemy that is killing Americans via fentanyl, heroin, and many other types of illegal substances that they're making in their countries and bringing them here to America. And we have a president that said, enough is enough. We will stop you at your source. And that's what we're doing here. That's why we have a carrier task force group off the coast of Venezuela right now, striking these terrorist boats trying to get their drugs here, and are about to take out their labs, all their places that support it, the infrastructure that supports it. Anyone and everyone in Central America and South America that's connected to these cartels that have been labeled terrorists, that are trying to send drugs into America to kill Americans, is about to die. And the Democrat Party in Washington, D.C. is against that. They weren't against what Joe Biden did with military operations. They weren't against what Obama did with military operations. But Trump's doing it. Trump's doing it. So no matter what Trump does, they're against it. And then they're going to sit there and they're going to lie and they're going to spew their hate. And sadly, there's a bunch of idiots walking around this country, far left liberals, that don't know any better, that have been told that MAGA and Trump are racist, bigots, fascists, Nazis, Hitler. You've all heard it. All of which is an absolute 100% lie. President Trump is protecting America. He is standing up for the oath of office he took, unlike the Democrat members of our Congress, in the Senate and in the House, who are using their oath to wipe their ass with. This is not okay. The American people proved this was not okay in the last election a year ago. In a landslide, we took back the White House, the Senate, the popular vote, the Electoral College, and every swing state. In a landslide for law and order in America. That's what the American people voted for. We want our streets cleaned up from what these Democrat mayors have done to them. We want our law enforcement backed up. And if the mayors and these Democrat mayors won't fix the problems in their cities, we will send in federal troops to take care of it and assist law enforcement. Democrats are 100% against that. We will stop the terrorists from coming across our border and killing Americans. The Democrats are against that. We will stop the terrorist organizations from bringing in millions of tons of illegal drugs to kill Americans. The Democrats are against that. Everything that Donald Trump ran on, that we voted for, that we won in a landslide, Donald Trump is doing. Like clockwork. And the Democrats don't know what to do, except continue down the exact same path. That is crazy. If you're doing anything, I don't care what it is, it doesn't matter. Pick the subject and you're actively doing something and it isn't working, and you keep doing it the exact same way each time, and you get the exact same outcome each time, which is a failure for you, and you continue to do the exact same thing each time and fail each time, if you don't stop and realize that's not working, then there's something mentally wrong with you. And that's what's happened to the Democrat leadership up in Washington, D.C. Instead of realizing with this last election that what they said and their talking points weren't working, they doubled down on it and continue to double down on it as we speak, which is why I can't wait for midterms to get here, when we're going to double the House and double the Senate and the rest of the country, for that matter. Thankfully, enough Democrats, regular everyday Democrats, they're not into politics, have a family, trying to raise, go to work, put food on the table, they just happen to vote Democrat, are seeing right through this shit. Thanks to people like me that are exposing it for them. A former Democrat. Right now, the Democrat Party, and if you don't believe me, after the show, just Google it or use ChatGPT, for crying out loud. The Democrat Party is losing more Democrat voters that are changing their party affiliation to independent or Republican than ever in the history of the Democrat Party. That should be a wake-up call for those morons in Washington, D.C. But it's not. Right now, more people are signing up on the Republican Party than ever in the history of the Republican Party. Because the enemy isn't Democrats that are just, let's just have them, they vote, they work a job, they have kids, they're trying to raise their kids, take them to soccer practice, cheerleading practice, put food on the table, take vacations, do the same thing that we do. They want the same thing we want. they want to save America. They want to see American citizens get put before illegal aliens, criminals, veterans, law enforcement. They want secure streets. They want the drug trafficking stopped, the sex trafficking, the human trafficking to come to a stop. But not their leaders up in Washington, D.C. And now they're being exposed for what they are. Lying hypocrites that care more about illegal aliens and illegal criminals and terrorists than American citizens. So they can just keep going down that road and doubling down going down that road and see where it gets them. As I got ready to come on tonight, we had some breaking news. So I'll go ahead and share with you. President Donald Trump announced in a Truth Social post tonight that he would fully and completely terminate any document signed by former President Joe Biden with the auto pen, including pardons and those he commuted, that he gave a pardon to. Any and all documents, proclamations, executive orders, memorandums, or contracts signed by order of the now infamous and unauthorized auto pen within the administration of Joseph R. Biden Jr. are hereby null and void and of no further force of effect, Trump wrote. Anyone receiving pardons, their sentences were commuted, or any other legal document so signed, please be advised that said document has been fully and completely terminated and is no longer legal or in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And boy, there's some people in Washington, D.C., and those that have now retired or have left Washington, D.C., that are shitting themselves. The Post confirms Trump is doubling down on action after announcing last week he would void any executive order signed using the auto pen of former President Joe Biden. The list of possible voided pardons does not include former President Biden's son, Hunter, on his way out the door. Why is that? Well, because that's the only one that Joe Biden signed with an actual pen, with his actual hand. The rest of them, we don't know who the hell did this. What we're finding out from those that have come forward and testified to Congress that were in the administration, Joe Biden did not have a clue that this shit was going on because he was just not all mentally there. Other people were doing this. They're not authorized to do that. The person that was responsible for the auto pen even testified, we talked about it right here on this show, that when she questioned, does the president know we're signing this in his name? Was told to just shut up and do it. New York Times reported the auto pen pardon list includes Joe Biden's family members that were involved with the Russia, China, and Ukrainian business dealings where they made billions of dollars, Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, former Joint Chief of Staff who screwed up the Afghan withdrawal, and every member of Congress that served on the J6 House Committee. Why would the J6 House Committee that sent all those MAGA people to prison need a pardon? A preempted pardon. In other words, if you did something, you're pardoned from it, from this date to that date. Well, of course, we're now finding out, now that Republicans have control of everything, that the J6 committee was nothing but a fucking sham. This was all an attempt by the Democrat leadership to shut down and stop Donald Trump. Did some people do some things on J6 that are horrible? Yes. And they should be serving time for that. Some of them still are, although some of them are not, because Donald Trump let them all out. But those that attacked police officers and did damage to property, nope. As far as I'm concerned, they should still be sitting in jail. But the rest of them that didn't do anything wrong, other than trespassing, got sentenced to fucking prison in a felony conviction. These would be Democrats Benny Thompson, Zoe Lofgren, Adam Schiff, Pete Aguilar, Stephanie Murphy, Jamie Raskin, Elaine Laurel, and of course, Republicans Liz Cheney and Adam Kishner. And then every Capitol Police officer who lied under oath during the J6 committee. Tonight, they're not sleeping well. In fact, they're going to have some nightmares. We are going to see in the coming weeks and months these people be held accountable for the horrible and hateful shit they did to Americans. Thank God. Now, I want to share with you something that Democrats don't want you to hear, not the ones up in D.C. Mainstream media doesn't want you to know about it. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't either. When I told you that I read over the big, beautiful bill, I did. I didn't read every single word. I skimmed through it. I have people that, showed me certain things. Definitely look at this. Definitely look at that. But I went through page by page of the big, beautiful bill. Personally. I missed this. Not sure how. Maybe it's because it got put in towards the end after there was this big attempted stop of the Democrats. I don't know. But in the original documents that I read, I don't remember seeing this. But I'm very happy that it's there. And I think you will be too. President Trump's friend, Michael Dell, D-E-L-L. That's right, that Dell. Founder and CEO of Dell Technologies, Dell Computers, and his wife, Susan, have pledged $6.25 billion to support a new federal savings program created for Americans' children known as Trump accounts. Regardless if you're a Democrat voter or a Republican voter or a far-left liberal piece of shit, this is for your children. Thank Donald Trump and his billionaire friends for it. Or don't accept the money that's going to be coming to help your kid. The program, tucked into the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and signed into law by President Trump on July 4th, provides every single child born in America between January 1, 2025 and December 31, 2028 with a one-time $1,000 government deposit at birth. Families can open an account once the child has a Social Security number. And funds cannot be withdrawn until the child turns 18. So if you didn't put anything else into it other than that $1,000 over 18 years, your child's going to be sitting on a pretty penny, depending on the economy, the stock market. Parents and relatives may contribute, though, up to $5,000 annually into that account that the government's going to start for you, for your kid. with the cap potentially adjusted for inflation after 2027. Now, if the Democrats win back control one day, they're probably going to take this away because, oh, Donald Trump did it. Even though it's for the kids, he did it. These investments accounts are simple. They're secure and structured to grow in value through market returns over time. At age 18, these young Americans can have a financial foundation for continued education, job training, home ownership, or future savings. It's a simple yet very powerful idea. The couple said in a statement, the Dell family, that long-term potential, they said, is why they chose to help bring the program to millions more families. Through our charitable funds, we are thrilled to be contributed $6.25 billion to seed 25 million additional accounts with $250 each. These deposits will reach the accounts of most children aged 10 and under who were born prior to the qualifying date for the federal newborn contribution, the couple said. So even if there aren't new kids just being born since January 1st. The new investment comes as Trump is expected to share additional details about the program, which I think started this evening or tomorrow he's going to discuss it. Treasury projectors show that the Trump accounts offered to American children could grow into seven-figure nest egg by the time they become an adult. If maximized and left to compound, the financial head start of newborns could grow to as much as 1.9 million by the age of 28, if fully funded and left untouched, according to the Treasury Office of Tax Analysts. So President Trump and his billionaire buddy, the Dells, are going to see to it that if you have a child, 10 or under, or newborns, by the time they become an adult, they will have one hell of a nest egg, especially if you contribute into it. Even at the lower end of projected returns, the savings account could yield nearly $600,000 per kid. And that's if the parents don't contribute anything. Even without additional contributions beyond the federal government's initial $1,000 deposit, the Treasury estimates the account could grow to between $3,000 and $13,800 over 18 years. Now, if you're a Democrat who hates Donald Trump or a far-left liberal who hates Donald Trump, please tell the federal government not to do this for your kid. No, you don't want nothing to do with this. I bet you don't. I bet you my paycheck you don't. Unless you're a fucking millionaire or a billionaire. But if you're an everyday American out there trying to put food on the table for your family, raise kids, I don't give a shit what your political party is. If you're not taking this for your kid when it gets offered, then you should probably have your kid taken away from you. That's how serious this is. And the last thing I want to touch on tonight is those two right there, my friends, Bill and Hillary Clinton. You see, the House committee investigating Jeffrey Epstein has asked Democrats and Republicans that were affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein to come forward. They want to talk to them about their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, just like Trump has answered all his questions. And we know that everybody that so far that we know, Democrats and Republicans that have been in this scandal of Jeffrey Epstein, two people that are in the biggest spotlight are those two right there. Why is that? Well, you see, because Jeffrey Epstein was invited to and visited Bill and Hillary Clinton at the White House when they were president 17 times. And Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, co-conspirator, child molester, Maxwell Griswold, or whatever her fucking name is, was invited to and attended Bill and Hillary's daughter, Chelsea's, wedding. So the House committee, everybody that were in the Jeffrey Epstein files that have been released, the House has said, we want you to come in, we want you to testify. We want to ask you questions about your acquaintances with Jeffrey Epstein. Democrats and Republicans, and even some private citizens have all stepped forward, except for Bill and Hillary Clinton, who said, send us your questions and we will answer them in writing. And the committee said, no, that's not how this works. You need to get on a plane and bring your ass over here to Washington, D.C. like everybody else and testify under oath. And Bill and Hillary's attorney said, nope, nope, nope. We're not going to do that. Tell you what, we do it via a Zoom meeting. And the committee said, no, we're not going to do that either. In fact, we're going to subpoena you. And if you don't show up after being subpoenaed, then we're going to do the same thing to you the Democrats did to Republicans when they had power and they subpoenaed people who didn't show up. And that is put you in handcuffs and arrest you.
They didn't schedule their interviews. Now there's a subpoena. But Bill and Hillary Clinton, if they continue to duck you, will you take them to court? Will you try to enforce a subpoena? Will you go the Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro route?
100%. We're going to go that route. We expect to hear from Bill and Hillary Clinton. Look, Donald Trump's answered questions for years about Jeffrey Epstein. Every day he gets asked questions about Epstein and he answers them in front of the American people. We've subpoenaed Republicans and Democrats. 2 Republicans have come forward, Bill Barr and Alex Acosta. They did interviews and deposition, and those were tough, but they did them. They didn't back down. Other Democrats have sent letters that saying they knew nothing about Epstein, which would hold in court if something ever comes out that they did know something, then they've committed perjury there. But the Clintons have never responded. They're the one group in this investigation that's never had to answer questions in front of a credible reporter, and they've never certainly answered questions from attorneys or members of Congress. So we expect the Clintons to come in, or I expect the Clintons to be met with the same fate that Bannon and Navarro were met with.
What do you think? You think the Clintons are going to show up? Or do you think they're going to get arrested for not showing up when they were sent a subpoena? Either way, it doesn't matter to me. They need to answer for their years of friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Just like Trump had to answer to. And everybody else that's in them files. 17 separate times Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator on several of the occasions were invited to our White House by Bill and Hillary Clinton. Of all the people on the flight logs from Epstein's personal jet, who Trump was one of them when he was a private citizen, flew on the jet. I think there's 3 times he was on that jet. Bill Clinton's name supersedes everyone. And they invited Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator to their daughter's wedding. Jeffrey didn't show up. He had another engagement, probably on his island diddling kids. But his girlfriend, co-conspirator, child molester did. And the committee would like to ask them some questions. Questions that they already know the answers to, or they wouldn't be doing this. You, regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat, should want to know what the Clintons knew or did. If no one is above the law, right? You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Whether you're watching us tonight on our YouTube channel, our Rumble channel, our X channel, our Facebook page, please like, subscribe, share it with your family and friends. Also, check out DouglasDucote.com, our website. My new book, Baton Rouge to Baghdad and Back, is out and available. Don't buy it on Amazon right now. Amazon has got 1,000,002 freaking problems. Not sending it to addresses properly, not even allowing you to have it sent to your address. Not just my book, all kinds of books. They're doing this, all kinds of publishers. Their computer system is a freaking mess right now. Just like their drones that are delivering stuff to people's homes, flying into their houses, hitting their cars, flying into power lines. Amazon right now is a freaking disaster. It's only going to get worse as the holidays get here. Barnes & Noble, Walmart. Hell, you just Google Baton Rouge to Baghdad and Back, the book, and you will see tons of places you can order this book besides Amazon. Why so many people are stuck on, oh, I only want to buy from Amazon, I don't understand. But, whatever. I just suggest make it simple for yourself. And if you plan on buying the book, look, I had the opportunity to write about my 4 combat tours, the horrors of war, like everybody else does. I didn't want to do that. I wanted something different. I wanted to share with you the funny things that happen in the military, the funny things I experienced in combat operations, things that made us laugh, the sixth sense of humor that you have to survive the horrors of war. That is what I wanted to share. And that's what makes this book different from all the others. Also on DouglasDucote.com, you can click there and you can see where all you can get the book, or you can go to my publisher, Page Publishing, and get it directly from there by typing in the book's name. It'll make a great gift for any of your family or friends that served in the military. Trust me, they can relate, especially if they served in combat. And also for those that never served in the military. What it does is it shows you that we're not just killers. We're not just hired guns that go to foreign countries and take people out on behalf of the United States government that are our enemies. There are things that happen that's human, which is what makes us different from everybody else's military, really, is that we're able to think outside the box and laugh at each other and the situation. It's a surviving tactic is the best way of putting it, to get through the silliness, the craziness, the things that you see and witness that are going to be stuck in your brain for the remainder of your damn life. So, Baton Rouge to Baghdad and Back is out. The humorous side of military service that I lived through. Hope that you'll buy it. Holidays are coming up, so order it now and get it before the holidays arrive. And then starting after the first of the year, I don't know the exact dates yet, and I do not know the exact locations yet. I do know that it will probably be Barnes & Noble bookstores, but they will be sending me out on a book signing tour across the country, and I will go there and personally sign the book for you if you show up. take selfies with you, shake your hand. If you support the show, you support my book, my writings, I'd like to say thank you in person. So that will also be available. And I've already started my second book about my many years of jumping out of airplanes from the age of 16 in 1978 till later on in life when I finally stopped jumping. But it's just about the crazy things that we did. You know, it's one thing to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. It's another thing to do it when you're young and dumb and just like to do stupid shit. And boy, did we ever. And the title of that book, I'll give you a little sneak peek, is When Skydiving Was Dangerous and Sex Was Safe. Today, it's just the opposite. I'll be back on Thursday night for another live broadcast. I hope that you will join me if anything breaks of major importance between now and then. If I've not been drinking, which I don't think I will be, that was just a special occasion with Thanksgiving, I will either come on and do a live program about it or I will do a video. Other than that, hope you all have a wonderful and blessed evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. And have a blessed evening, and I will see you back here on Thursday. Good night, my friends.